Hello and welcome to this, which I presume we're just calling the Insight podcast. We don't have an official name for it internally, do we? We just call it
That's actually a really good name.
the podcast.
The Insight podcast, I like
it's
that.
A podcast about insight, so that's presumably what we're going to call it. So we're gonna be talking to cast and crew of the film. Every week we'll talk to one of them, although for this first one we've got three of them. And we're just going to talk about the film, talk about the guys involved, our process, all that good stuff, keep you updated. And that's more or less it. So I'm going to let our three guests introduce themselves in whatever order they choose. So introduce yourself, tell us an interesting fact, if you've got one, and your role in this production.
Go on, Bethany first.
Oh, thanks, guys. So I'm Bethany. I am one of the head writers, and interesting fact about me, which isn't so interesting, but I'm now a caffeine addict. Thank you to Insight. Yeah. Go on, Arjun.
Thank you, Bethany. My name is Arjun. I'm 24 years old from London. I'm a film director. An interesting fact. So I didn't actually want to direct anything dramatic until I actually got to uni. My first way into film directing was actually wanting to direct superhero films. So that is one of the goals eventually.
I'm Bailey. I'm the producer of Insight. And an interesting fact. My background's kind of always been acting. And so it's really fun to be transitioning and taking on a more crudest side of the process and be leading the project with these two. So I suppose that's a fun fact. I've always done acting. Really, that's such a boring fact. That's awful. It's terrible.
Oh, give us another one.
I've moved house over 40 times. There you go. That's the one I always go back to. Yeah.
That's weird.
That
is weird.
That is weird.
So sincere.
So two of you sort of answered it, although Bailey answered it by not answering it. This next question sort of is, sort of a general one. What sort of inspired you to go into the role that you're doing now? So again, we'll go with Arjun because he's already sort of answered it. So you go first.
Yeah, it was really weird. When I was doing my A-levels, I was quite into game design and wanted to become a programmer. But then I thought it was really boring. So I was just like, you know what? Why don't I just do something which is completely out there? And I actually took a year out of college to just redo my A-levels, so it's more specific on filmmaking. And then it turned out that I didn't get the grades that I needed to do, and then had to do a foundation year in computing, which was what I was trying to get away from. So then we started this journey on, I say we, I mean me. I started this journey on this weird transition of going from someone who's very computer oriented in programming, developing software and things like that, to then going into more film directing and film producing. And I actually directed my first film in my second year of uni, so that's 3 years into my degree course. But it ended up being quite good, and it was released in 2019.
Bailey, because you mentioned about being an actor initially and starting off as an actor, and obviously that's not what you're doing on this production. How did you get into producing, or was it something that was sort of dictated by the National Youth Film Academy?
No, not at all. So I applied for the producer role. It's been a real sort of gradual process and kind of me sort of going through everything. So when I was 15, I was in a play called The Heart of Robin Hood, which was written by David Farr and put on by the Royal Shakespeare Company. And so that was my first kind of experience as an actor in that professionally. And then a couple of years later, I got the opportunity to work with a director called Loveday Ingram. And we did Macbeth. So it was all kind of theatre background really for acting. We did Macbeth in the Theatre 7 in Shrewsbury, and then went on to do Julius Caesar with her as well at the new theatre in Chester called the Storyhouse Theatre at the Grosvenor Open Air Theatre. And while working with her, she was really kind and kind of introduced me to almost the world of directing and the kind of behind the scenes side of things of a professional production. And so from her, I kind of really started to get more interested in the more creative process rather than just the performance side of it. And the freedom I can have. And I remember some awesome times where she kind of gave me scripts that she was kind of potentially going to be pitching to big companies and kind of being like, "Oh, I'll read this. What do you think?" And I love that side of it. I love seeing the sort of things before they even happened. So then I went to university to kind of do more of the sort of English and film route and start exploring a bit more. I kind of got stuck into acting more while I was at uni as a bit of a safety net, but have more recently kind of branched back out to that directing and producing side, which is what I really sort of grabbed hold of and fallen in love with, really, is this sort of side of being to be able to be involved in everything almost and part of the whole process. So
I have never heard the word acting used in the same sentence as safety net before in my life. I mean, he's got more professional acting experience than me, and I'm here as an actor. What's going on?
No, I've been very lucky. But it's definitely found where I'm most comfortable, which is in this sort of producing role. So we'll see what happens.
And Bethany?
Oh, what was the question again?
What inspired you to be a writer?
Oh, geez. What inspired? Oh, everything. I mean, I grew up, watching Burton movies, Tarantino, David Fincher, I loved it all. And then
grew up watching David Fincher films.
I had a lot of time to myself. So I was a bit of the nerdy kid. So when I got to A-levels, I actually decided to do a 2-year film course in 1 year, which was hell. But, it was worth it. And then I went to Central and I've just always been writing and kind of directing. So I like the idea. I actually started off a bit similar to Bailey with the acting. And then I realized, no, I need to have control of what's going on. I need to have creative agency, for the scene. And how'd you do that? Well, you write the scenes, right? So, I just fell in love with writing, staying up all hours, with tired eyes at the screen, just creating these characters and hoping that, someday a director and actors will be like, yeah, you know what, that's pretty good. We're gonna go with that. So
it's really interesting that you mentioned you and Bailey about wanting to be actors first. I think you hear a lot of people who work behind the scenes in media start off to be actors, and then as they discover more about what goes on behind the scenes, they move into that. I was somewhat similar. As I got older, I discovered more about film directing and what goes into making it. And I really got interested in it and sort of considered it, and then I realized it sounds really hard. But I still have a fascination with the behind the scenes a lot more now that I'm older. So it really seems like people who go into that aspect of it, a lot of them do start off with actors, and so they find something like yourselves. One thing I wanted to ask you, Bethany, because obviously with us, one of our big selling points for this film is that it's done. All the pre-production has been done on Zoom calls because of COVID-19. None of us have met, and we've never actually spoken to each other before.
We haven't. No,
so, what were the challenges for you writing this, in terms of writing for people you've never spoken to before, and also just the fact that there's 9 or 10 characters, and a lot of them have to have the same size role. So what were the challenges for you in writing that?
Honestly, the challenge, I mean, we kind of had the narrative set out, which was nice. We knew that these characters had to have equal parts. I think that was a bit challenging because normally in a script, one character does tend to dominate another. So it was a bit of a challenge trying to even that out. Not knowing the actors was interesting because usually when I write a script, I always have an actor in my head, whether that is a famous actor or, just the actors that I know from uni. So I guess it wasn't that challenging. I knew that, we'd had a good group of actors anyway, regardless, because of On the Chat, everybody had amazing ideas. So I think the most challenging thing was just allowing everyone to have equal parts, and the genre itself. We kind of created a new genre, this concept of the mind game thriller, and I so wanted to push the boundaries like so badly, but obviously we had to keep it, 12A. So that was the challenge as well. I wanted to be a bit more, gory on the nose. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I didn't have much. I didn't have much issue not knowing the actors, because I guess I had faith in the casting process anyway. So,
thank you.
Yeah, that's right. It's encouraging, isn't it? And Arjun, I suppose that you had there's challenges for you as a director, being stuck in isolation and lockdown, not being able to go to a location, and again, not working with the actors. Did you find there were any sort of challenges in regards to that?
So my way of directing is very one-on-one. I do like to talk to the actors and the crew, and that is my way of getting my point across. I'm not one of these guys that will write it down. I will sit down with you and get the character to come out of you and your interpretation of them. So one of the difficulties that COVID has done is basically, because I've not been able to physically sit with the actors or the crew, I've had to do it over the internet, and there's only so much emotion you can put across on the internet, if that makes sense. I know you get all these comments of people in all caps just saying, "Oh, blah 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 blah, change this, change that," but it's different to actually hearing someone's voice, and you hear that and it resonates with you. So I think one of the great things that we've had the luxury of, although a lot of people don't particularly like Zoom, it's made talking to each other and working together a lot easier over the last 12 weeks.
I don't really have the same. It's sort of on a similar vein with Bailey, but I mean, just from speaking to you in the group meetings we've had, it doesn't seem like you've really had many challenges at all. So you really, I mean, at least from my point of view, you've really been getting on doing like so much for the group. It's like really, I would not be able to do it. And
it's all a phase. He calls me like midnight crying.
Shh, I told you not to tell anyone. God.
But it sort of, I didn't know what a producer did, what the role was coming into this process. So what sort of responsibilities do you have as a producer for something like this, for people who might not know?
So my role, as I see it, is the kind of the balancing act. I try and almost keep everyone happy, but ultimately my job is to make sure that a film gets made. That's the final line. I have to make sure we're kind of keeping to the deadlines, keeping track of those deadlines. I'm here to support Arjun in the sort of creative vision. So I have had some sort of script input and sort of been reading over that and doing that, but then also being able to give them the space to go off and just create what they need. And then the other side to that, therefore, is on the crew side to be able to enable that. So work out the budget, work out the locations, work out the logistical side, and basically be the string in the middle. I kind of have to take the punches when people get a bit upset or wound up. I also have to kind of deal with the wider problems as well. Or it's quite a tricky time where people are got all kinds going on at home, whether that's just moving house or looking after themselves or jobs still working. I mean, Arjun Pala is working full time. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all hours of that days, and trying to make sure that he's happy and still involved and still part of it and still knows what's being catched up. I've done a terrible job. He shouts at me every day. No, so it's great fun for me. I get to see everything unfold. I get to see everything happen, and luckily, you say we haven't had any big problems. Well, that's been because of such a great team. And one of the lucky things that I've been able to do is just tell people, like, right, can you go make this for social media, or can you create this logo? And we've got Ben and Rob, who are amazing and have created websites and social media pages and posters and just gone off and done it. And it just makes my life easy because I've got so many talented people around me who can do what we need.
Yeah, we just feel like a team effort. I think before we started this, one of my sort of concerns coming into it as an actor was that I don't have the same control over the script and over the production as you guys do. And myself, naturally, I like having that control. I like making stuff for myself. But it really feels like a team effort, and everyone's had stuff to do. And part of the reason why I was wanting to do this was because, I want to be involved. I want to be doing stuff as much as I can. And it really does feel like it's a big team effort. Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think it's really important in any project. I mean, it was also a sort of prerequisite almost of NYFA, is that they wanted this to be a group project. And so you've got to strike that balance between, our writer, so for instance, Bethany, or our director, Arjun, who, have got to do their role, and they've been given a very specific role. But equally, the sort of the story and the idea had to kind of come from the group in some form, because everyone had to feel like they contributed. And I think we struck a really good balance, speaking for myself, of letting everyone's voices be heard, being able to have their view and give their input, but then allow the people in the specific roles who are sort of experts at that to then be able to nurture that and grow it from the group's ideas in a happy way where everyone's on board. And I think it's a great mentality to take into any project. It's definitely something which I'm going to consider going into future projects, is how can I create a group project rather than just an isolated thing. So we've been very lucky in that regard, I think.
Yeah. We got a little silly fun question now. We got a couple of these peppered in just to, make it a bit more interesting. What is a dream film or TV show that you would like to work on, or would have loved to work on, that you've seen in the past?
Lord of the Rings.
Or might get a chance to do that next year.
Really?
They're doing the TV series on Amazon.
Oh, of course they are. Oh, God, I've got to get on that. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Right, bye. I'm off. See you later.
Books his flight to New Zealand. Off he goes.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. No, I love it. I got the 15-disc box set, which is 5 films per film, 5 discs per film, 3 of which were therefore just like behind the scenes, how they made it. And I've watched that too many times. So I'd love to work on that film. That'd be amazing.
Go on, Bethany, next.
I want to work on everything. I can't narrow it down. I think the one, because if we talk about the psychological thriller genre, the one film that really stuck out to me, and hardly many people know it, which really saddens me, is Stoker, and by Park Chan-wook, written by Wentworth Miller. It's amazing. Nicole Kidman, Matthew Goody is also starring in it. So it's just one of those films that really they also use binaural sound, so almost like ASMR sound, and it's so immersive. And I was as soon as I watched it, I thought, yeah, okay, this is that was the moment where I was like, this is the genre. Yeah. This is what I want to be doing. It's just it's amazing. So I would have loved to have worked on a feature production such as that. Yeah, it's just amazing. Go on, Arjun.
Mine's really easy. I want to work on Batman. I want to do a really dark, gritty version of Batman, but which is also comic accurate. I know Chris Nolan did a very realistic version of Batman, and then the version of Batman we had with Zack Snyder was very dark, but I don't think it was. It was quite comic accurate. I don't know. I want to see a continuation of the Zack Snyder Batman.
Are you excited for the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman coming up?
Yeah. It's just taking too long. It's just taking too long.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. On that point of Batman and sort of superhero stuff, comic book stuff, I think when you first mentioned that sort of surprised me a little bit, because that genre is not one that you hear people talk about as going into film. And I myself, I'm a fan of those types of things. But I wouldn't say that, for me at least, they're not the types of films that make me want to be an actor. I mean, I'd love to be a superhero, obviously, it's just cool, isn't it? But it interested me that that was what you really wanted to do, and that was your inspiration. Why is it like that for you?
So when I was going to the cinema, that's probably over 10 years ago now, makes me sound really old. I'm not actually that old. Only going to be 25 this year. But when I was really growing up, a lot of the films that I was going to see were it was in the kind of like the infancy of when CGI was kind of like basically taking over, and just seeing these characters that I've either read in a book or seen on my morning TV shows when I meet my cereal, it kind of just made me really want to direct something like that. And I think the Avengers also played into it a lot. And I think what I've learned is whilst I've been at university and watching a lot of films by Hitchcock, by Fincher, by Kurosawa, and by of course I forget all the directors I did my dissertation on. It's only been a year.
Scorsese in there. That's
Scorsese.
Always, yeah, it's always on the syllabus.
It's just how they subvert reality within reality, if that makes sense. So it's learning about how the dreams affect a character and how we portray a character within those dreams and how we interpret those dreams. And that's where my kind of influence for this film came into. I mean, there is a lot of backstory that we're going to try and build into each character, which I don't want to say will be dreamlike, but it'll be a bit surreal in a sense. I don't want to say too much more now.
Just tell them the whole plot, why don't you? Just how are they on?
Basically, someone gets the gun.
And they're all dead in the end. I think it's interesting because, you know, as I say, I'm a fan of those, and I think as you are coming into like working in the industry professionally, I think especially like doing dissertations on directing, I did film studies at A-level. You don't sort of study the films, and you're encouraged to look at sort of more serious types of films. But I know for myself, like I've never been into Shakespeare. My family are like, you want to be an actor? You don't like Shakespeare? What's wrong with you?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that there will be people like yourself who are coming into the industry because of those types of films. I think it's a really interesting thing to see what the landscape of young filmmakers will look like in the next 5 or 10 years because of those films and their success. I think it's a really interesting point. So this is a question for all of you. I don't know exactly how much it will apply to you because you seem to all have gone to university and college and all this. But there are a lot of drama schools and film schools and stuff. But what, regardless of those, potentially, what sort of attracted you to the National Youth Film Academy and the Set Ready course?
I didn't want to spend 40 grand on film school.
That's fair. I mean, I'm from the north, so I feel you there.
Oh no, go on.
No, go, please.
I actually was very restless in my studies and wanted to overload my work, which I've successfully done this year. But actually, I wasn't supposed to join until 2 courses like before this one. And I went for director, and I got a phone call from Rob out of the blue saying, do you want to be a writer for us? And I was like, actually, yeah, like, you know, that's not too bad. So actually, I'm here on a whim. Just kind of strange, right? But I was attracted initially like to the National Youth Film Academy because obviously when you go to a drama school, you hear and you network and you know that it's just a really good place to meet emerging artists like yourselves. So I just thought it was a really good networking opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the one thing that's hardest within this industry is finding people, meeting people, and networking. And I think also the other thing, I mean, my background's been predominantly theatre, and for when I get an interest into film, the one thing that I think most people don't know is actually, how do you get into film? Like, who do you need to contact? Who are the people? Like, how do you meet these people? And I think that's the one thing that NYFA offers, which is incredible, is the opportunity to have talks with top professionals within the industry who can almost demystify the whole process for you, explain exactly how to become a producer, explain how to get noticed as a director, as a writer, what's the sort of process for that. And so it's been invaluable in that regard, to be able to learn more about how the industry actually operates, as well as be able to, exactly as Bethany says, meet like-minded and talented people to be able to create and share with into the future.
I want to expand on my answer because it sounds a bit silly now. After I finished uni last year, I was really just looking for different opportunities. Obviously, with my degree in digital media, I kind of left myself really open to different courses and different opportunities. And because I hadn't decided on if I actually wanted to go to film school, because I didn't know if it was essential or not, and I didn't know what to do. There wasn't very many opportunities in running or in like various like production assistant roles at the time when I graduated. So I just happened to find an advert online for the National Youth Film Academy, because I typed in NYFA and it came up with New York Film Academy and also the National Youth Film Academy. And one thing led to another. I got invited to an interview, and then basically 10 months later, I'm on the course.
Mine was a bit, I think I got sent the link to it by a friend. So really, my entire career, if I have one, is because of him, really. But yeah, I mean, I
see you accepting your Oscar.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my mate sticking me in the ship.
Yeah. But I mean, I've come out of college and I've done this instead of university. So a lot of my friends have gone off to university, and I haven't. And it is that thing of networking, and it gives you those opportunities that, like, I could have gone to a drama school or film school and spent 3 years there doing a course that I was only half invested in, and then come out and just not known, how to even get a foot in the door. And for me, that's what this course really is. And I think that's what's so unique about it, is the opportunity, the networking opportunity that it gives you. Yeah. And
I think especially, I remember we had a conversation earlier when we were all getting to know each other, Johnny, about how, as well, from your perspective, like the Shakespeare point, like you're interested in film, you want to act in film. And most drama schools won't offer the opportunity to train in exclusively film. And so you have got to go through that theatre. You'll do a semester or a course in sort of film acting. But if this is what you're passionate about, this is what you want, there are very few opportunities in the UK to be able to expose yourself to that. And so I think this is why the National Youth Film Academy is such a great option, because they give you that opportunity to network, to explore, to learn, but to create.
And it's also quite ironic because a lot of drama schools in the UK offer MA in screen acting, but again, that's an MA. So, you're kind of, this is why a course like this is very valuable, taking those steps and not having to go to university, because you don't have to go to university,
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do screen acting primarily, and there just aren't courses available aside from the New York Film Academy, which is, I mean, I'm never getting there. So, I mean, as I say, I joke that, I'm from the North, but even just in this country, fewer opportunities up here than I would in London. And that's not, me having a go at people who are from London, and they're just closer to those opportunities. But this course has been really valuable to me personally because of those opportunities that I just wouldn't have otherwise. And it's just such a great thing, I think.
I think one of the first things that you learn from my experience anyway, is although a degree will help you it'll put BSc or BA next to your name, but it won't do anything if you're not willing to put the effort in. So I look at people like Rob, who's our editor on the film, and he's apparently he's made around 1,000 short films, and he's 17, 18 years old. It's absolutely mental. And if you're not prepared to just work on anything and write anything, and you just keep waiting for a moment when you're going to shine, It's not going to come. You have to put the time, you have to put the effort in. And I think with courses like this, you do get the time, and you do get the approval, if that makes sense, of you can make it if you just put a little bit of effort in.
And exactly as kind of touching on earlier, the opportunity to learn. I mean, exactly as you said, Johnny, you didn't know what a producer was when you came into this process. And we've tried throughout the sort of our group to offer people the opportunity to sort of sit in or work with, me and Arjun. So if they are interested in directing and they're acting, we've got, 17 to 24 is our age range, from all over, from Scotland right down south. So, there's a whole spectrum of people who are in the group. And it's brilliant to be able to learn from everyone, learn from their experiences, and then sort of teach people as well, teach people about this industry and other roles and other potential areas they could be interested in.
Yeah. So sort of touching on that point a little bit, coming in and getting that networking and being able to get into the industry, were there potentially any, as I said, I didn't know exactly what a producer did. Were there any sort of misconceptions you had about the industry that that you've discovered how you were wrong?
Good question.
Are you talking about right now or when we all started?
In general, I suppose. I think potentially coming into this course, but even just as you were coming in and as you learned more about the industry and as you progress more into getting into the industry.
I would say from a writer/director perspective, I would say collaborative writing, how different it is every time. And Insight is interesting as well because Padma, the other writer, we worked very closely, and it was a very interesting dynamic, and it always is every time. And that's something I've just learned, that you've just got to, as long as you have like a good idea, your dynamic kind of just flows as co-writers. So it's like, it's really nice to have. And the interesting thing about this experience was because, again, it was on Zoom, and I usually work in person as well, like Arjun. So, it's difficult. But I think if anything, this experience has shown that it doesn't matter whether you're in a pandemic, you get it done, So as a writer, of course, it's easier to be anywhere and write, but when you're communicating with co-writers, it's not that easy. So you just got to make do, and you just got to do it, because that's the point, right? It's what you want to do. So.
Yeah, I think this whole experience, just picking up on that kind of point of doing everything online and COVID, and all of us, having never met, coming from all different backgrounds, all different ages and experiences, and being able to be producing this film, creating this film, is such a good string to put to our bow going into the future. To be able to say that during this time we were able to create art and come together and do something. Because I think that's something that I've probably picked up on in terms of the talks that we've had from different professionals, especially the sort of producers, is, one of the other sort of roles as a producer is damage control and dealing with problems as soon as they arise, wherever they might sort of come up, whether that's on location, whether that's in pre-production, post-production, whatever. You've got to put out the fires and find a solution. And obviously the biggest fire that we've had has been, how do we make a film during coronavirus? And we've never met. And so it's been incredible to see a team come together over Zoom and be able to create and work together. And it feels so cohesive. It feels as if we're all just sitting around the same table together, writing on one page. It's quite a unique experience. And so that's been quite eye-opening.
I think for the first, 17, 18 years of my life, it was, a lot of people said, to get into the film industry, it's about who you know and what you know. But from just being on this course and listening to Rob and how he is so passionate about promoting it and getting people into the industry, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And I think the more we all work together in further projects this year, next year, the year after that, 5-10 years time, because we would have worked together on this project, and let's say we don't talk for the next 5 years, or I hope we do. I might have a project, I might have an idea in mind, and then I'll go to Bethany to maybe suggest like some ideas that she would know. And I don't know what she would do, but if she's got like a project coming up and she wants someone to direct it, then I'll obviously offer myself there. But then if I need a producer for it, then you get Bailey introduced as well. And it's just about, obviously, if someone knows you and they know you're reliable, they're more likely to go towards you rather than someone new, if that makes sense.
I'm already thinking about poaching half the team anyway. I'm not joking. I'm already there.
Yeah, I mean, people say it's a, it's a really backstabbing industry and everyone's, using other people to get to the top. And it's really, it's the opposite of that. Everyone is so collaborative and so, friendly with each other, and everyone wants everyone else to succeed. And I think that's, not necessarily a misconception I had coming into it, but you really just sort of see just how wrong that is. And it makes you wonder how that is even a thing people think that the industry is like, because it's so much not like that.
Well, I would say, I'm just gonna I would say what is interesting, because we all know the industry, right? And we all know the issues with the industry at the moment and how people are trying to change, the abuse of power that comes with the industry itself. But I think definitely from a collaborative perspective, young emerging filmmakers and writers and actors, I think there's a very dominant voice now, and film will change. Like, it's changing already, and that is good, even though we look up to, our idols. But I think it's going to be really interesting from these kind of collaborative projects, what is going to be out there, like you say, in the next 5-10 years. Like, yeah.
And that's literally just... Sorry.
Watch this space.
Yeah. We are the future.
And I think the only reason that we've had that opportunity is because of streaming services. You look at YouTube and there's thousands and thousands and millions of minutes of data being uploaded to that every day. And you look at Netflix giving opportunities to young filmmakers. You look at Amazon Prime giving other opportunities. One of my lecturers put his pilot for his TV show on Amazon Prime. And
wow.
And I think they offered to potentially create it, but it's still there to watch if you did want to watch it. But the streaming services are the way forward.
A little subtle promotion in there. I love
it. So talking more about this film, specifically Insight, obviously it's a game film and it's about a missing person. Were you sort of aware of that subject matter and sort of wanting to raise awareness for that sort of subject matter? I know we're looking to work with a few charities to help raise awareness for that. Was that something in the process of writing the script and creating the idea that you guys felt was important?
I would say from a writer's perspective, it was always something in the back of my mind, though we're taking more of a psychological spin on it rather than it being, just purely a drama. I would say that no matter, what you talk about, you can't really disconnect the association. So because your audience is so wide. So in terms of the narrative, I did actually know quite a lot about like the protocol within like a missing persons case. But when you add creative agency to that, that's when it kind of gets a bit hazy, because you've got to make sure that it's realistic. But obviously this is, fiction. So yeah, a bit in the middle.
Yeah, I think there's a balance. And I mean, the one thing we've always been clear on is exactly as sort of Bethany says, that this is fiction, this is entertainment at the end of the day. And so we never wanted to delve too far down the line of trying to give a strong message or sort of dictate a certain behavioural or way of being. However, I think what has become important is to still acknowledge that this is a factor within our film and a serious issue. and that this affects people in lots of different ways. And so one of the responsibilities I think that I feel like I've taken on in terms of the sort of producing side and looking at film and wanting to work with charities is that we have an amazing opportunity to get a message out there and to potentially help people. I think by having something which is entertainment, so therefore more people are more likely to watch it without coming in with a stigma of almost this is being targeted towards us, can potentially open up a question of kind of how we can support people who have to experience things like this. At university, we had a really horrible case of a guy who went missing, who was a friend of mine. And actually what was amazing throughout that period was the way the community came together to rally behind and support each other and support the family and the really close friends of his. And for me, that's always been something that I've been conscious of in the development of the script, is how people can come together to react and respond to each other, sometimes negatively, sometimes positively, but therefore making awareness of the charities and the support networks that are there to be able to help people who might go through something like this. So it's double-edged. It's entertainment. It's there to it's the mind game genre. Thriller is there to play with you and add that psychological element, and that is its primary focus. However, there is still an underlying issue which is serious and is something we want to focus on and help and raise awareness to wherever possible.
Yeah. I think reading the script, it really feels like the focus is less about the person going missing and more about the response from the people who know that person. I think is that fair to say that, I think that's where the focus of the film is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the main things when I was discussing the idea with Bailey and Bethany was there are a lot of films and a lot of stories out right now which are based on a person going missing and the police officer that goes around and solves it, or the best friend that goes around and solves it, or it'll be the point of view of the missing person. But no one in the research that I did, there wasn't any films or stories that looked at it from the point of view of the, I don't want to say victims, but point of view of the friends and the family that were affected by it and what could have caused this person to go missing. So that was the angle that I wanted to look at it from. And with my background in psychoanalysis and dreams and surrealism, that is asking that question. It's, did I cause this person to run away? Did I cause this person to potentially put themselves in danger? And it's the characters asking themselves that question, which is the interesting part of the film. And that's what I really want to put across.
Yeah, it therefore comes down to almost a wider thing of how do we treat people? How do we, respond to and react to people? And then how do we view ourselves within that? And sometimes, I think especially at the moment with everything that's going on in the world, there's a big point to sort of have to stop and reflect on yourself and how you treat people and how you view people and the labels that you give yourself, but also give others, and the effect that can have. I think that definitely comes through in the story when we have that self-reflexivity within the characters.
And multi-perspectives as well. I think it's so, I don't believe, again, like Arjun said, I don't believe that there's enough emphasis on authenticity with people's backgrounds and them all coming together in one room, and like Bailey said, we're at a stage in our lives where that is now being a big emphasis on community. So definitely, I think the context and multi-perspectives in this film will hopefully make sure that the stigma with whatever is around the subject that we're trying to portray, I'm going to give away too much, allows people to just think a bit wider. And especially in the genre itself, we don't want to stigmatize the genre. So I think it would be quite interesting.
Yeah. Who plays you in the film about your life story? That's a fun little question to throw in there for you.
Dev Patel.
I can see that, to be fair.
Maybe someone like Daniel Radcliffe or Elijah Wood.
There's like a foot difference in height.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh my God.
Tom Hardy then, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Are we going on looks? Because I have no clue. I would say I've been told that I look like Emilia Clarke, and I've been told that I look like what's her face from Doctor Who? Because I used to have like quite ginger hair back in the day.
Karen Gillan.
Amy Pond, is that?
Yeah, Karen Gillan.
Yeah. So I used to always be very annoyed at that. No disrespect to her. Just,
Scottish.
you know. Huh?
Because she's ginger and Scottish.
No.
We're just talking about accepting people and
No. Hear me out. Because I'm about the 10th Doctor. I'm all about that. I'm all about David Tennant. So when anyone mentions other episodes from Doctor Who, I'm a bit like, well.
Bitter topic.
It's great. I mean, that's quite funny because that's sort of my big inspiration for being an actor is David Tennant.
David Tennant, same,
and,
yeah.
And that's really what sort of got me into it. I don't really have anything else to add to that. I just thought it was a funny coincidence.
I'd say, what's your TV show called Criminal? He's in the first episode. And you will literally change your mind on him as an actor. I always assume up until now, I think it's been 10 years since he's stepped down. And I watched Criminal and you literally just flipping your mind that he's actually such a phenomenal actor.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
Like the genres, it's just even stage, you know.
I saw a thing the other day. It was like a poll or something that named him as Britain's hardest working actor. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
And finally, final question. What are you most excited for people to see in Insight?
Spoilers.
I'm quite excited for people to. This is more about not what they see, but what they think. If that makes sense. So, if Bailey, please stop me if I'm saying too much. There are story elements in the film which we are trying to. Basically, I want the audience to question themselves, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I want them to question themselves and to put them in the situation of the characters, and if they were the characters, who they would believe and who they wouldn't believe.
Yeah, no, I completely
How was that,
agree.
Bailey? Was that all right?
Well, you're breaking up, Arjun. Oh, no.
Cut. I'm not allowed to say that, am I? That's your job. No, I completely agree. I think that's the really exciting thing about this film for me is what are people's reactions going to be, and not in terms of like, oh, is it a good film? But actually, you know, what do they think about the story? How are they reacting to it? What are their thoughts on, you know, what happens to characters, or how do they relate to characters, or all kinds of. That'll be a really exciting feature to see when it gets put out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're wanting to take a camera to the initial screening and sort of get people's ideas, and we're really hoping for people to have different thoughts about it and different ideas as to exactly what's going on without too much.
Yeah.
I think it's from like typing a document to then seeing it on screen, and then, you know, seeing an audience or hearing an audience's reaction is probably something that I'm very nervous about. But in general, the detective character, I'm interested. The female detective, you know, I'm very all about female characters, especially within the genre. So I want to see how people would relate to her or not relate to her. And just, I want them to have a interesting impression at the end. I can't say anything more than that.
So that's all from me in terms of questions. Unless there's anything else you guys wanted to bring up or wanted to mention.
Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. Go to my website, arjunpala.co.uk. And please contact me if you want a social media post made about you.
Oh, if anyone needs a writer, at Bethany Darcey on Instagram. Website pending at the moment because I need sleep.
And please donate to Insight Film. So
yes, and if you're not following our social media pages, first of all, why? What's wrong with you? Second of all, you can go and do that. It's on Twitter at @in_sitefilm and the same on Instagram. And I don't know exactly what the link to the Facebook page is, but it'll all be on the website. This is on the website. So there'll be links to all those places for you to go and follow us and support us. You should. It's a really worthwhile cause, so I've heard. But I think that's all from us. It's been a great chat. It's been really interesting, really fun. So yeah, thank you for all giving up your time to come and have a great chat. I think we'll leave it there.
You know, we should do one of these after the film.
Hopefully not crying or anything.
God, I hate
you guys
it.
get